At the moment, we're a bit like a bus heading towards the edge of the cliff. Crude oil is going to become short in supply and it's going to become progressively expensive.
Time is not on our side.
The government and governments all around the world are scrambling to find alternatives to petroleum products.
They're selling off Australian gas by the shipload. 16 million tonnes this year. Gas ships loaded with liquid natural gas, gas chilled to liquid at minus 161 degrees Celsius to reduce its volume to 1/600th of its original 84 billion litres in bulk. 2,200 gas ships have already left our shores in long-term wholesale supply contracts with China, Japan, South Korea, Italy, Spain and the United States, nations scrambling to secure their energy supplies for decades to come.
It provides an energy source for a world screaming out for energy. There's no doubt there's a tightness in the supply of energy, particularly to meet the tigers of India and China. But secondly, there's also an enormous appetite for cleaner energy. So natural gas has around half the greenhouse gas emissions of coal-fired electricity.
But with global demand for natural gas expected to double in the next 5 years, some are left wondering if Australia is missing its own boat.
The thing that strikes me as being rather quaint, to put it mildly, is that we pay anywhere from about 8 billion to 25 billion to import the oil, and we get a paltry 4 billion for the gas that we sell to overseas countries. Seems odd to me, especially given that gas is a superior fuel for many purposes, including the use in motor vehicles.
There's massive reserves of natural gas that are not being used, and that's why we're selling them off to China at such low prices. We should be making use of this fuel ourselves locally, because if we don't, we're going to be paying for petroleum products. Natural gas can represent a saving of up to about 60% on what you're paying for petrol, and that includes diesel and LPG as well.
Going for gas. As prominent players in the Australian gas industry recently gathered in Perth, the grapevine was abuzz with the boom in business for the sector.
It's just busy.
Gas used to be probably second best choice. When our explorers went looking, they went looking for oil, and if they found gas, it was a second best option. Now, with the demand for energy supplies, the increased demand from energy supplies, particularly from the Asia-Pacific region, we're really seeing gas become a much higher value product and price accordingly.
And here the Australian government hinted it will increasingly move to secure more of Australia's gas reserves for Australians.
It's therefore about balancing our desire to grow exports while ensuring there is sufficient gas available at a fair market price to meet the needs of Australian industry and consumers.
Could that mean quarantining 15% of production for local use, as, controversially, the West Australian government has insisted on from multinationals?
They're very lucky being actually able to develop our nation's natural assets. And they also accept that they have to give something back to Australia. You don't have to build industry up to get a positive response. They are seriously thinking through this debate.
To retain a sufficient proportion of production for domestic use?
I think we'll see over time a process which delivers to us domestically and also internationally from an export point of view.
Governments need to look at the issue of where our future transport energy is coming from and take the step, which is a little unpopular in terms of modern economics particularly, of setting some targets and perhaps some mandates. Otherwise, the default position, I think, is just to continue on the same pathway until the bus does hit the wall.
The Australian government is about to embark on an energy security assessment.
With only about a decade of known oil resources remaining at today's production rates, Australia is looking down the barrel of a 25 billion trade deficit in petroleum products by 2015.
There are other strong reasons supporters say Australia should go for gas, not just for generating power with greenhouse efficiency, but to fuel the vast motor vehicle fleet of a sprawling nation, using compressed natural gas, half the price and less polluting than LPG, liquid petroleum gas, a byproduct of the oil industry.
Globally, there are about 800 million vehicles on the roads of the world, and there's about 8 million natural gas vehicles. So you pull up at a garage as you would if you're refuelling with petrol and diesel or LPG, and you plug in your car into the natural gas supply and it's full in a couple of minutes, just like it is with the other fuels.
Australia has abundant reserves of gas, enough to last around a century and a half. But there is one far greater attraction for motorists who've grown tired of being battered by rising fuel prices.
You'd be looking at around 40 cents per litre, covering all costs, including compression of the gas.
Already, plenty of big car manufacturers are making natural gas-fuelled vehicles overseas, and many Australian homes already have natural gas. So with a small compressor, you could easily fill up your car at home. The oil companies mightn't like that, of course, nor the government, which collects $14 billion a year in excise tax on petrol, 38 cents in every litre you buy, plus GST. So the plan is, in 3 years, to start introducing excise tax on natural gas for vehicles only, but at about half the rate charged for petrol. Question is, will this loss in government excise taxes be a disincentive for Australia to go for gas?
I don't think we'll see hesitation because of the excise. I don't think the governments have much choice anymore, and I think they'll move down that path because they're being forced to.
Meantime, how goes the ever-expanding search for oil, soon to be extended with the UN's blessing, by an area equivalent to 35% of Australia's landmass, pushing out into deeper and deeper waters offshore?
What's not going quite so well is the exploration and the search for oil in those areas that we call frontier areas, so those massive sedimentary basins where we don't know what's there.
So what is Plan B should the search fail? Ongoing trials, we're told, trials to develop gas and diesel from coal.
There are ongoing discussions between my department and a range of companies about coal to liquids and gas to liquids. That's about synthetic diesel. It's about a cleaner fuel.
No mention there, you might note, of compressed natural gas. Some say a cheaper, cleaner, greener, proven technology that would capitalise on one of our richest resources.
This is a product that many other economies in the world are fastened onto as an important aspect of meeting the transport energy challenge. It's real, the technology's real, the technology's available. I think what's needed is political and industrial will.